Star Wars The Last Jedi stars Daisy Ridley, Mark Hamill, Adam Driver, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Carrie Fisher, Andy Serkis, Lupita Nyong'o, Domhnall Gleeson, and a whole bunch of other people. Chewbacca, BB-8, R2-D2, they're all back. The gang's all here again. And it's written and directed by Rian Johnson, a director I'm a big fan of. For one movie, basically, I've still never seen his movie Brick, but I loved Looper, so I was very excited to know he was doing this. And let's talk about it. This movie follows directly after The Force Awakens. Rey is meeting Luke. She wants him to train her. Kylo Ren has just been defeated, and the First Order is still like a strong force in the universe fighting against the very weak, small, dwindling rebellion. And Kylo Ren's been a dude who's been very conflicted with he's being pulled towards the light, but he wants to. He strives to go to the dark side. There's some conflict with that. Yeah, it's a Star Wars movie. Lightsaber fights, the dark versus the light side, battles in space, ships flying. You pretty much know what you're gonna get, or do you? This movie actually, I'm not reviewing this immediately after seeing it. I've been giving it a few days just because sometimes getting it up to actually review a movie, it takes me some time to build enthusiasm. Even though I might love a movie and want to talk about it, just actually sitting down and talk about it takes some doing, takes some time. It makes me want to bash my head in with this hammer, like, why can't you do shit early and like right after you see a movie? But yeah, this movie's actually very divisive, at least what I'm hearing. Like, a lot of people are torn on this movie, and like every fucking movie these days, Star Wars fans are the worst fans for sure when it comes to hating and being super nitpicky. But these days, you either hate a movie or you love it. If you're down in the middle, they don't want that. And if you love it but have like some things you maybe don't care for, that's not good enough. But let's talk about it. First off, let's just start with the story, because I was very excited for this, because the most compelling part of the last movie was Kylo Ren. Like, that character to me was one of the best villains or characters in Star Wars. I thought he was better than Darth Vader in terms of a villain for a first movie in their trilogy. When you take what Darth Vader was in A New Hope versus Kylo Ren, I thought Kylo was way more interesting. This dude that he's striving to be like Darth Vader, but he's being pulled to the light and he's very conflicted. I was totally into that. I want to see more of that. So getting to see his character progress throughout this movie is very cool. I was anticipating certain things to happen because I'm like, are they going to be very big risk takers and do things that I kind of want them to, and it would be very challenging. If I do a spoiler review, I'll talk about it. And the same with Rey. Like, she's this mysterious figure that has so much power, raw power, that's like, she's never trained, she just has this power within her. She doesn't even know how or what's happening. I thought that was very interesting. And then other characters I just really love. I love Poe Dameron, I love Finn. These are great characters that I want to see more of. BB-8. We finally get to see Luke, like he's actually in the movie, not for 5 seconds. Luke in this movie, his training with Rey, all that stuff. It's reminiscent of Empire Strikes Back, but it's not the same thing. That was a big complaint for Force Awakens, it was so much of a semi-remake of A New Hope. It's like poetry, they rhyme. It's me, George Lucas. They rhyme, it's poetry. I hate sand. Is that a good George Lucas? Does he need to sound more like Mr. Plinkett? I hate sand, okay? I think Anakin should hate sand, and yeah. Let's kill a bunch of younglings. But yeah, seeing Luke, that's really cool. Those main stories I love. Kylo Ren's journey through this movie, Rey and Luke, the training, where Luke is coming from as a character, a very broken man. These stories are very interesting, and I'm into them. The only problem is there's like another story subplot that I'm not totally into. It's basically a long chase. It's like Poe Dameron and then Finn's story, where it's like, it's essentially the First Order chasing the rebellion, trying to finish wiping them out, which sounds really cool. But in execution, upon reflection of what you see in the movie, it's like, okay, so Finn's gonna have the side story with this new character, and it's like, I don't hate it. I think it's fine. At the same time, it's just not nearly as compelling as the other main stories, so this side story is just kind of whatever. And it doesn't help, like, Benicio del Toro comes to it in this side story, and I did not like him in this movie. I usually love him in movies. He's a great actor, but his whole performance, his character in this, I was not into it at all. Seeing Benicio del Toro kind of wander around and mumble stuff, it's just, I don't want that in Star Wars, or in general, I kind of don't want that. And in Finn's side story, we get the character Rose, and it's like, you know what? It's not even a nitpicking thing, it's more of just preference. It's like, he's gonna interact with her, and they become like companions that are gonna do this whole story together. It's like, she's fine, but at the same time, you know what? I want Finn with Rey, and I guess she's busy with Luke, so they can't be interacting anymore. But I don't want Finn with Rose, just in general. It's like, this whole side story is meh. Even though I do think John Boyega is great in this side story, he shines, he's a great actor, so he's just a lot of fun to watch. But I don't care about that fucking story. And then in the other side story, like Carrie Fisher, it's great to see her. She's great as Leia. There's some very interesting scenes with her in this where it's like, okay, they're going in a direction I actually like, I've been waiting for. I dig it. And then Oscar Isaac, I love him. I always want more of Poe Dameron in the movies. He's always like slightly underused. They could use more of him. I think he's really good. I like seeing those characters and they're giving great performances. But you can't mess with the main story. The main story cannot be fucked with because it's too good. Adam Driver is incredible. Again, as Kylo Ren, I love it. I love his conflict. I love where it goes. He's got so much raw intensity, anger. His journey in this one was so interesting to watch. And it didn't quite go the way I will say wanted it to. I wanted them to go a certain direction and they maybe didn't quite go there. But you know, maybe in the next movie, there's always that chance that maybe in the next movie they'll fully commit, but whatever. And then Rey and Luke, my God, they're both great. Mark Hamill, this is probably his best performance he's given in a Star Wars movie. And in general, besides maybe his Joker work and all the animation and video game stuff, because that's the best there ever is. But as Luke, he is so good. He is so different from the Luke we've got. He's broken. He's kind of given up on life. He's got a lot of self-doubt and blame, and he wants to basically go hide off somewhere and die. His failures with Kylo Ren really, they messed him up. And so it's nice to see Luke come from a way different place, very dramatic, as a broken guy who maybe through training Rey can redeem himself. We'll see where that goes. Like, he's really good though. And Daisy Ridley is again fantastic. She's like searching for so much. She wants to figure out who her parents are. She wants to stop the First Order. She wants to try to redeem Kylo Ren and still save him and like help Luke get through his stuff. She's got so much going on, and it's just like, I know I keep saying it, but these main three characters, Kylo, Luke, Rey, their stories, I dig it. I'm into it. What they're doing, I'm totally with them 100%. And I love Daisy Ridley in this. She goes through an interesting story that, again, it's like Kylo. Her and Kylo, it's like they're pushing in a certain direction that I'm like, fully commit, because this could be really cool, and it's like they slightly hold back, and they're telling the story they want to tell, so whatever. As long as it's good, I don't care, and I still think it's really good. It's just my personal taste would have went a little bit extra on it, but she's still great, and I'm still super curious for where the third final movie's gonna finish this story because I'm into it. I'm with them. And this movie is also pretty dark. Like, Rian Johnson did something good with it. He made it very dark, dramatic. He's not telling a typical Star Wars story, which I don't know what that is. Does it just involve a lot of planet to planet shenanigans, flying around, all sorts of laser fights and space battles? Like, this movie's being criticized for being too different, but also praised for being a very bold step for Star Wars. It's like, I thought it was pretty much typical Star Wars, just they definitely kept a darker tone for the movie with some interesting dramatic turns, and it's like, I dig it. It doesn't feel that much different. I mean, it feels like a movie made by someone that's not J.J. Abrams. It feels different than The Force Awakens. It's got a different aesthetic to it, but it still feels like Star Wars. The visual effects are all stunning and immaculately perfect looking. The music, again, John Williams' score, incredible. It really hypes you up, and like hearing these themes now, like hearing the First Order theme, Rey's theme, these things, not just the Star Wars one, but things established in Force Awakens, it's like when I hear them I get excited, like, oh shit, there's Rey's music, I'm into it. And also really quickly, let's just talk about it. Porgs. Okay, these things were like all over the internet before the movie came out when there was trailers, like, look at these porgs, and I was like, we'll see when the movie comes out. I don't want to get all excited. I'm like, yeah, they look fine. In context of the movie, I love porgs. They're hilarious and they're adorable, and I might want to eat one. Maybe a couple of them, I'll just say that, but I love porgs. And let's talk about the action for a second. When we get space battles and stuff, as always, it's pretty good. It's like these new movies have been the best. I know it's because visual effects are just way more convincing than back in the old days, but I find like the space battles, when an X-Wing or something's flying around, it's just to me way more dynamic than in the older movies. I know, but they're really awesome to watch, where these things are flying around and it's on a salt planet, so it's like they're dragging and it's all white and it brings up red dust. It's just aesthetically, it looks beautiful and awesome. And then when we get lightsaber fights, they're very personal and intimate, where it feels like, damn, this is the most physical like lightsaber fighting I've seen since probably Empire or Return of the Jedi, where it feels like real people fighting. Much like Force Awakens, where I dug that lightsaber fighting. Again, it feels like real fighting where people are swinging these fucking laser swords, and it's not all about that. There's like actual like, okay, you caught my fist, so I'm gonna like punch you and shit. Like there's extra stuff too where it's like, okay, this is very physical. I like it. This is the type of lightsaber fighting I'm into, because it feels the most grounded in a way, which is hilarious because it's a fucking lightsaber. And yeah, honestly, with this movie, I pretty much loved and adored it. My only real complaints are like it feels like there's certain stories that Rian Johnson wants to go for, and maybe, I don't know if it's himself or Disney or someone, where it's like they don't want to fully commit to this, where it's like, ooh, that'll be really interesting and edgy and a new direction, and they're like, not quite. And then other things where it's like, oh, this character we are into, like, it's interesting, what are they going to do in this movie? Are we going to get to see more of them? Are they going to live up to some kind of potential they have? No, they're not. Alright, bye character. It's like, they did that a couple times actually, where it's like, this character has potential, and that's seemingly it. Maybe they come back in the third one, I don't know, but it's like, damn, we got a couple Boba Fett's in this movie. And yeah, the subplot with Rose, that whole thing, that whole side story, isn't that compelling. It's well acted by most of them, Benicio del Toro notwithstanding. But everyone else, like, it's really good. Carrie Fisher, they do something awesome with their character in this movie. I loved. I've been waiting to see. It's great. Oscar Isaac is awesome. John Boyega is great. It's like they make that side story watchable because they're good actors and great characters, but it's just, it's a sidetrack from the cool, ultra compelling, amazing story I want more of. I will also say there's a cameo in this movie that, oh, straight from the heavens it came. I loved it. When there's a certain moment that happens, call it fan service, call it whatever you want. When it happens, it felt so good. I wanted to shed some man tears actually. And in fact, it's actually funny. This movie is the first movie I've ever seen where there was applause and stuff. Like, I saw Force Awakens and Rogue One opening weekend. It didn't happen. But for this movie, like, there was times where people started cheering and clapping. And I was like, that's actually pretty fucking cool. I like that. The movie takes some risks. It does some new cool things we haven't seen before, where it's like, this is exciting and new territory, where it's like, I like this. I'm surprised. This is, yeah, like new interesting things that I want to see explored more in the next movie. I dig it. Thank you, Rian Johnson. Thank you. So yeah, Star Wars The Last Jedi, I love it, but I got issues with it, and that's okay, because that's life. It can't be perfect every time. And I found, like, The Force Awakens, I found that to be a perfect movie, even though there is complaints that it's very reminiscent. And this one, it's like I like it better, but not. Because it's like I'm way more enthusiastic about certain things, but then there's some things that are like, I don't care for that necessarily. So it's maybe my third favorite Star Wars movie, or fourth, I don't... Empire, Force Awakens, and then it's either this one or the original Star Wars. I don't know. So yeah, Star Wars The Last Jedi was super satisfying, super enjoyable, loved so much about it. There are so many moments where it's just like, yes, I wanted to stand up and cheer, light my lightsaber, and just swing it around and probably decapitate myself. But there's a few things I don't care for. I would give Star Wars The Last Jedi, sometimes rating these things are a real pain in the ass. But yeah, I would give Star Wars The Last Jedi an A. I love it. It's not perfect, but I love it. Comment below, tell me your thoughts on The Last Jedi, and I probably will be doing a spoiler review, because I was going to do it on the end of this video, but it's probably too long as it is. I'll do it in a separate video. Like everything else, I have a whiteboard over there. I didn't forget, I'm going to do Justice League spoilers, and Stranger Things 2 spoilers. I still got to talk about a whole shit ton of movies, actually. Damn. You want to see? Here's a quick insight. If you think I forget about shit, I don't. It's just time. So, I'll add Star Wars spoilers to the list and we'll get to it eventually, okay? So yeah, tell me what you thought about this divisive movie. I don't know why it's so divisive. It's pretty great, okay? There's complaints, they're not that strong. There's nothing that egregious in this movie. Comment below, tell me your thoughts on it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys later.